Hello everyone, and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 1228, 1228, August the 22nd, 2020, Saturday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, let's go ahead and get to the Spygate news of the last 24 hours. Again, we're continuing on from the last two videos to follow up on the guilty plea by Kevin Kleinsmith and what may be involved in all that. Yesterday, we talked about a document that Margot Cleveland had unearthed, and she posted up on her Facebook page, and I talked about that and told you that you could go over and take a look at that yourself by taking a look at her Twitter page, and you could read that for yourself, where it I think overwhelmingly suggests that Kevin Kleinsmith is in fact by way of his having his charge dropped way down to a much lesser charge, includes his cooperating with the FBI in their investigation into FISA and what all happened there, which is primarily where Kleinsmith worked. He's someone who worked signing off on FISAs. So that's why he would be a major player, but he was also on the Mueller team at the time that the fourth FISA was signed, and that's why what he might have to say is will become very interesting to Durham. The big question in this whole issue is whether or not Attorney General Barr is even open to suggesting that the Mueller investigation was a hoax or a fraud, and that the people heading up the Mueller investigation, that being specifically Weissman and Zelensky and some of those characters, whether or not they could be held criminally liable. It's hard to tell hard to read Attorney General Barr on this issue, but I think ultimately, when you look at the entire Spygate coup hoax, from the beginning to where we are now, the Mueller investigation was a very key part of the coup. I don't think that you can investigate the coup and then set the Mueller investigation off to the side and pretend that it's off the table. It can't be off the table. It was a huge part of the coup. I believe it was essentially the insurance policy, a way to force Trump out, or to get him caught in an obstruction trap or something, some way to get rid of him. And we know all the things that occurred, but remember that fourth FISA occurred while Mueller was running the show. And we know from Rodenstein's testimony that essentially in all things regarding Russia or the investigation, he was totally hands-off. He didn't do any oversight whatsoever. He let the Mueller team run the Department of Justice in terms of many things, not just having to do with the investigation, but as far as the releasing of documents and all these other things, he was letting the Mueller team, meaning Weissman, control all of that. You cannot look at the entire coup plot against Trump and not consider the important role that the Mueller witch hunt played. And this is, I think, going to be probably the stickiest wicket for Barr to negotiate, because I get this feeling that he would like to specifically maybe target some rogue FBI types and then sort of try to protect the institution, the Department of Justice itself. And I just don't think that you can do that. I don't think you can separate the Mueller investigation out from the coup. And we will see how Attorney General Barr negotiates that particular minefield. And as most of you know, for a very long time, more than 2 years now, I've been saying that I think it was a mistake I don't really so much think it was a mistake to appoint Attorney General Barr as the Attorney General. I think he's far better than Sessions, and I think he's, in general, I think he's pretty straight shooter, but he's still a veteran of the Department of Justice. He still has a certain I guess, love for the Department of Justice, and has a certain probably feeling that he has an obligation to protect the Department of Justice. And I think that that's why you can't have the DOJ and the FBI investigate itself. It's why more than 2 years ago I said that Trump should have appointed a presidential commission. We've had many presidential commissions, just like the Tower Commission. The Lyndon Johnson appointed the Warren Commission. Of course, that was to cover up. Most of the time, when presidents appoint commissions, it's to do a cover-up. But it doesn't always have to be that way. Trump could have appointed a presidential commission the day after the Mueller investigation ended. That's exactly what I think he should have done. Appointed a presidential commission, and he could have named the people on that commission. Could have been DeGeneva and Tensing, Sidney Powell, Sebastian Gorka. Could have been, you name it. John Solomon. Could have been various other people. So Trump could have put together a presidential commission and put his people, the people he selected, on it, and given them full subpoena power, and then assigned them DOJ attorneys outside of D.C., independent U.S. attorneys outside of D.C., who have been vetted to make sure that they are Republicans and Trump supporters. Oh yeah, that's right. And he could have certainly have done that. And it's my opinion that if Barr and Durham do not produce, and I'm hoping they will, but I guess my thoughts are is that if Barr and Durham do not produce, if they do not find it within themselves to do the right thing and actually hold the coup plotters accountable, what Trump should do is immediately after the first of the year, after he's re-inaugurated on January 20th of 2021, he should go to Attorney General Barr and ask Barr to tell Durham to wrap up that investigation. I'd call him in my office and say, well, looks like you've had your Durham investigation going on for what? 2 years now? Looks like things are moving kind of slow. Doesn't look like much is going to happen. I think that you need to wrap that investigation up, because I intend in the next month, within the next 30 days, to appoint a presidential commission outside, people not part of the DOJ and FBI, to investigate the coup. That's what I'm going to do. So you and Durham can go ahead and wrap up what you're doing. If you got some people you want to indict, go ahead. If not, just put them on the burner, because my presidential commission is going to go ahead and pick up on that and get the job done. That's exactly what I would do. I believe that that's what Trump should have done over 2 years ago. But we are where we are. So let's continue on with where we are, and let's play the game to the extent that we have to play the game, and we'll see where that leads. Again, to follow up on the point that I made the last 2 days, that Kevin Kleinsmith is absolutely has to be a cooperating witness. You don't have to be a fantastic prosecutor or a top-notch lawyer to have a situation where you have someone who you know is guilty of a crime, a serious crime, several crimes, the most serious of which would be, in this particular case, would have to do with tampering with evidence. Kevin Kleinsmith tampered with evidence on a legal affidavit, a FISA warrant. He tampered with the evidence. Evidence tampering carries like a 15-year jail term. It's a very serious crime. Of all the various crimes that Kleinsmith could be charged with, that would have been the most serious one, the tampering charge. That's not what he got. He got a making false statements charge. Now, even if you weren't a trained lawyer, prosecutor, whatever, it's common sense that if someone comes to you and there is something they want, and there is also something that you want from them, you're going to say, sure, I would love to give you what you're asking for, but I want something from you. So let's work a deal. I'll give you what you want if you give me what I want. This is just a common sense approach to anything. Happens every day. Every day people say, yeah, I got something you want, and I know you want something from me. Let's work it out. I want this, and I'll give you this. I mean, this is done every day. You don't have to be a top-notch lawyer to figure this out. So Kleinsmith wants a more lenient sentence. In return for that, Barr would naturally say, well, you're wanting a more lenient sentence. Well, there's some things I would want from you. It's as simple as that. The idea that Barr said, you want a more lenient sentence? Okay. What do you want? Okay, we'll plea it down to the lowest thing I can give you. I'm making a false statement. How about that? Does that sound good? Good. Thanks for coming in. See ya. I don't think so. And if that turns out to be the case, then we have a big problem. Let's hope that doesn't happen. I think it's nearly impossible that would happen. That's why when people say, nope, Kleinsmith, he just got pled it down to practically nothing, and there's no cooperation agreement. He doesn't have to give up anybody. That doesn't work. Okay, my mind does not want to accept that. Durham and Barr could not possibly be that stupid, that incompetent, that crooked. It's just impossible. So that's why the last 2 days I said, of course there was a cooperation agreement. There's things that have not yet been released to the public that we don't know. But yesterday we had Margot Cleveland post up on her Facebook page one of the documents from the Kleinsmith case that certainly strongly suggests, it actually says right there that he has to cooperate with the FBI, and that he will not be charged for any evidence that he might produce that could incriminate him, which is typically a cooperation agreement. It's saying, tell us everything, and don't worry, you can go ahead and admit to other crimes you've committed. We're not going to prosecute you for that, as long as you tell me the truth. And that's what the document says. And it also says that the information that he gets, or that he would give to the Durham team, will not be used to charge him with any additional crimes, but it can be used to charge other people with crimes. That's a standard cooperation agreement. So, we have Paul Sperry, who is a big skeptic, by the way. Who's a big skeptic? Paul Sperry, yesterday, quote, former Comey FBI attorney Kevin Kleinsmith must cooperate with Durham's investigators and the terms of his plea agreement between now and his sentencing on December 10th in order to get a 2-level reduction in his punishment for falsifying evidence to frame a Trump advisor. Let me read that again. Former Comey FBI attorney Kevin Kleinsmith must cooperate with Durham's investigators and the terms of his plea agreement between now and his sentencing on December 10th in order to get a 2-level reduction in his punishment for falsifying evidence to frame a Trump advisor. Again, he gets a false statement. That's probably about as low as Durham could go on the totem pole, based on what Kleinsmith did. But he could have hit him with evidence tampering, which would be the top tier. That would be the 2 levels higher than what he got. And tampering will absolutely get you. You will not avoid jail time for tampering. You will do several years for tampering. It's 15 years, which that's the sentencing, max sentencing, 15 years. The guideline's probably 5. So he would probably do at least 5 years in prison on a tampering with evidence charge. A making false statements charge, he may not do a single day. He may only have to do like 30 days community service and pay court costs. That would be the very lowest. But he would have to give up a lot to get the very lowest. The judge said in the trial, as I listened to it yesterday, or day before yesterday, he said that the government must, within 3 weeks of the sentencing date, must advise the court on their sentencing recommendations. We will find out. That will be toward the end of November, around Thanksgiving, the latter part of November. They'd have to have the sentence agreement in by then, or the recommendation, and we'll know probably a lot about what Kleinsmith gave up based on what they recommend his sentencing to be. If they say, yeah, we think this guy should definitely go to jail for 6 months or 3 months or whatever, and he should definitely pay a fine, and they try to hit him with the max of what they can, then we'll know he probably wasn't fully cooperating. Of course, the cooperation agreement requires that he does cooperate. If in fact they find out that he's lying to them, misleading them, not telling the whole truth, withholding information, the plea deal's off, and it goes back to a level 1, which is probably a tampering charge. He doesn't want that, so he's likely going to sing like a bird. That would be my guess. And remember, his criminal conduct occurred while a member of the Mueller team. So the things that he's going to be talking about and ask about are going to be things that occurred during the Mueller investigation. And that's who's running the show at the time. That's why I say you can't take the Mueller witch hunt out of the equation. It's part of the coup, part of the crime. That's the tricky, sticky wicket for Barr and Durham. That's why I suggested a long time ago that the president should have appointed a presidential commission. You can't have the DOJ and FBI investigate themselves. This is why I've remained to be somewhat skeptical. I'm optimistic, but I'm a skeptic at the same time. And I'm offering the benefit of the doubt. But my patience is running very, very thin at this point. And I don't like when I see, Manafort, Stone, SWAT raided. Here they go to Steve Bannon, jerk him off of a yacht and arrest him, perp walking essentially. But Kleinsmith, who knowingly committed this serious crime, he's allowed to just come in with his lawyer and cut a deal. Comey's walking around, writing books, tweeting out all kind of crazy shit, right along with Mr. Potato Head and all the rest. They don't get perp walked. And this is what's maddening for a lot of people, including myself. And this is why many of us are skeptics. It's pretty obvious what we're seeing here. And Attorney General Barr is trying to play this game with us, which is, well, I've decided to be the adult in the room, and I'm not going to play the Democrats' game. Well, you may not want to play the Democrats' game, but they're still playing the damn game. Now, it's one thing if you say we're not going to play the game, and you don't play the game. That's okay. I could probably live with that. But at the same time, if they are continuing, the other guys continuing to do the game, and you're allowing it to happen, you are not stopping it, then your plan is not a good one. You can't have it both ways. You can say, well, we're going to do everything by the book, while we allow the other side to perp walk everyone in Trump's orbit, to arrest everyone in Trump's orbit, to go after everyone in Trump's orbit. They can do whatever they want. They can play as dirty as they want. They can do whatever they want. But I'm going to be the big man in the room. I'm going to be the guy above it all. We're going to do it by the book on our side, while the other side throws the book completely out the window and does whatever they want and goes after whoever they want and perp walks whoever they want and arrests whoever they want for any reason. Political reasons. No, it doesn't work that way. Attorney General Barr is going to have to get his hands dirty. Like I say, if Attorney General Barr, if we find out that his testicles ended up somewhere here up in his rear end, and they shrunk up to like the size of peanuts, if in fact that occurs, I would relieve him of his duties right after I was inaugurated. I'd do two things. I would tell Attorney General Barr, you've had a couple of years. The coup continues, because it's going to be continuing. As soon as Trump is reelected, they're going to challenge the election in the courts, because they're going to delegitimize his reelection. That's obvious. It should be obvious to Barr. It should be obvious what's going on here. So I would, on January 20th, once I'm inaugurated in the midst of all the crazy stuff that's going to be going on with the election being challenged in the courts, riots out in the streets, challenging the election, saying Trump cheated, they want to go to the courts and try to have the election overturned. If it does do that, Pelosi would become the president while it's tied up in court. Do you know that? Is Barr going to allow that? He better slam the door on this bullshit quickly, or that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to throw this election into the courts, and Madam Speaker will become the president while it's being battled out in the courts. How long do you think that'll take? That's what they're setting up. It's not about playing dirty. It's about winning. And when your opponent takes you down into the mud, that's where you got to have the fight. You didn't ask to go down into the mud, but you got taken down into the mud. And once you're down there, fuck it. You got to fight. You may get a little dirty. Profanity alert. Profanity alert. That's right, friends. You're going to have to get your hands dirty in this one. So, if I'm Trump, day after inauguration, if Barr and Durham haven't produced, I thank him for his service, and I send him on his way. And I appoint a real attorney general. Giuliani, or someone like him. DeGeneva, I don't give a damn. A wingman, just like Obama had Holder and Loretta Lynch. Can't get any more wingman than that. And then I'd launch a real investigation, and I would do it through presidential commission. Trump said he may have to get involved, and I'm telling you, I believe it's better than 50-50 he will have to get involved. Attorney General Barr and Durham need to man up. If they're not aware of what's being done, they're setting up for a court challenge to the election. That's what they're doing. They're setting up a court challenge. Once we hit Inauguration Day, if it's still tied up in the courts, guess what? President Pelosi. Like that? Now, let's move on. So, there you go. Paul Sperry now seconding, and again, he's a skeptic. Paul Sperry saying that there absolutely is a deal where Kleinsmith must cooperate with Durham's investigators between now and the date of his sentencing on December 10th in order to keep that 2-level reduction in his punishment for falsifying evidence. He absolutely has to be giving up names. And we now know that he did tell his immediate supervisor and one other case agent about, not just in letter form, but he did physically tell them, his supervisor and one other special agent of the FBI case agent, about the information he got from the CIA saying that Carter Page was a CIA asset, or whatever you want to call him. And of course we learned from Durham in the charging statement that back in August of 2018, the CIA had advised the multiple people, Crossfire Hurricane, the top people running it, as well as the top heads of the FBI and DOJ, were all made aware that Carter Page was a CIA asset back in August of 2016. That's right there in the charging document. Why are not all these people, have they not been arrested and perp-walked? It's right there. Durham knows it. Now we're always like, yeah, but he's working on bigger things. He's working on bigger things. Other charges. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Crossed my mind yesterday. As of yesterday, Friday, we were told that yesterday, Friday, John Brennan sat down with John Durham, or not Durham himself, but obviously Durham's investigators and legal team. Now, I guess my questions about that, I find this a little unusual. Why would John Brennan sit down and answer questions to Durham's team? Why would he do that? Well, it could be, I think, one of three things. Could be that he's been told that he is not a subject or a suspect or a target in the investigation, and that they just want to clarify some facts, and that he doesn't have to worry about being prosecuted or charged with any crimes. And he's been told right up front, nothing you say to us in this interview is going to cause you to be charged with a crime or anything like that. You are not a target. You are not a suspect. You are not a subject of the investigation. We just want to confirm and verify some information that we've got, and then you can go on about your way. Either he's been given that assurance, or he did receive a target letter, and he is a target or subject of the investigation, in which case I would have to say that's extraordinary that he would sit down and talk with Durham, because clearly John Brennan's a wealthy man, multimillionaire. He can afford good lawyers. Even a bad lawyer, even a incompetent lawyer, even a stupid lawyer, even a non-lawyer would say to John Brennan, yeah, well, we got a target letter that you're the subject, possible target of the investigation. No, we're not going to go talk to the FBI. Under any circumstances, there are no circumstances that we're going to go talk to the FBI as you are a target or a subject of the investigation. That's insane. No lawyer would tell their client who's been told that they are a target of a criminal investigation by the FBI would say, yeah, let's go over and talk to the FBI. Now that they've told us you're a target or subject to the investigation, let's go sit down and talk to him. No way. No lawyer in his right mind would ever say that. No way. So I think we can rule out that Brennan received a target letter, and based on that target letter, he wants to go sit down and talk to the FBI. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. That's like a zero and a million chance that a person would receive a target letter that they're a subject or a target of an FBI investigation or special investigation, and that their lawyer would say, yeah, let's sit down and talk to him. No. That's not it. Now, it's possible. Another scenario is possible, is that he's told he is a target or a subject to the investigation to come in and talk and consider making some sort of a cooperation agreement. In other words, a plea deal. In other words, you're the target of our investigation, the subject of our investigation, one of our targets and subjects of the investigation. We have information here that's, that's not good for you. We are, considering, you are a subject and a target for possible prosecution. However, if you want to come in and talk to us, maybe we can work something out. Now, that is a possibility. It's a possibility that Brennan has been told he is a target or a subject of the investigation, and that's the reason he's sitting down with Durham to discuss what they can do for each other. Now, under those circumstances, what Brennan's lawyer or Brennan might be thinking is, well, let's sit down with them and see if we can find out what they've got, so I know whether or not I should cooperate or just not talk to them and walk away or whatever. Now, Durham and his investigative team are not going to give any specifics of that kind of information to Brennan's lawyer. They're not going to disclose specifically what they've got on him until he agrees to some sort of a cooperation agreement. They'll just simply say, we're not going to tell you exactly what we have here that we're looking at. We're just telling you it's prosecutable, it's criminal, and we think we can prove it. So it's not like they're going to sit there and say, yeah, well, Durham's investigators are not going to sit there and tell Brennan and his lawyer all the things they've got on him. and then Brennan say, okay, well, I'm not going to cooperate. Thanks for telling me everything that you know. Now me and my lawyer are going to leave. Thank you for all the information you just gave me. No, that's not going to happen either, okay? We're in Stupidville here, okay? We're in Stupidville, all right? So there is always the outside possibility that Brennan, as an arrogant prick as he is, and many of you have seen this guy on TV, you know what I'm talking about. This is an arrogant son of a bitch. And it's very possible that Brennan believes that he is so smart that he can outsmart Durham's people, and that he can get himself off the hook by simply demonstrating his superior intelligence and being able to explain away his role. Remember, this is a guy who went out on TV multiple times and took credit for being the one who initiated the Trump-Russia investigation. He's taken credit, bragged about being the one who initiated the investigation. So which is it? Has Brennan been sent a target letter and he's going to sit down to discuss a possible plea agreement? Has he not been sent a target letter but just wants to go have a conversation with Brennan because with Durham's team, because he's been told that nothing he's going to say is going to, involve him, coming into criminal charges? And I think that would be hard to imagine why you would take someone completely off the table who's up to his eyeballs in this, but everything's possible. Or has he been sent a target letter and he is determined that it's the best strategy for him and his lawyer to go sit down and talk, believing that two things will occur. One, that he is smart enough to outwit Durham's investigators, because he's a lot smarter than they are, because he's this highly intelligent person. Or he believes that in this sit-down discussion that he will be able to learn something that he and his lawyer can use in his defense in the event that he does end up being criminally charged. So I don't know which of these scenarios is exactly what's going on. We don't know. We were told that he was scheduled to sit down with Durham on Friday, yesterday. There's nothing in the news wires about it. I searched and searched. There's nothing at all to tell us what may or may not have been learned from Brennan or even what took place. So we don't know. It's all pretty secretive. But something is going on here. Clearly, Brennan decided to sit down and talk with Durham's investigative team, and supposedly it was voluntary. Voluntary. Why would any lawyer allow their client to voluntarily sit down and discuss with the people who are prosecuting or looking to prosecute people who committed crimes around this Russiagate, Spygate, whatever you want to call it? And when your client's right in the middle of it, he's the guy who claims to have been the one that set the whole thing in motion. Why would you let him sit down and talk to the FBI? Unless he had full immunity. And why would Brennan be given full immunity? Why would you do that? I mean, you wouldn't give him full immunity unless he was totally innocent, which we know he's not. He's at the very least perjured himself to Congress, at the very least. And that's one of the charges that was against Roger Stone, lying to Congress. And Barr said, hey, if we're going to prosecute one guy for that, we're going to prosecute everybody for that. That's what Barr said. There's something that doesn't smell right here. Something doesn't smell right here. It's another one of those fish for dinner last night, Marge, moments. Moving on. Trish Anderson said in sworn testimony to the Senate Intelligence Committee that she signed off on all FISAs as her role at the DOJ. But she testified under oath that the Carter Page FISA warrant broke all previous protocol. Normally, she would sign off on the FISA, and then it would go to Yates, head of the DOJ, or the top person at DOJ, and then the top person at the FBI. In this particular case, it was Yates and Comey. But she said this particular FISA on Carter Page broke protocol because when it hit her desk, Yates and Comey had already signed off on it. So she rubber stamped it. The Carter Page FISA broke protocol, according to Trish Anderson, who signs off on all FISAs. When she got it on her desk, Comey and Yates had already signed off on it. It's not supposed to work that way. It's supposed to go to her and then to Yates and Comey. But in this case, it did not. We also know that McCabe and Yates, she said that both McCabe and Yates read the FISA line by line and signed off to that fact. We also know that McCabe was told by the CIA that Page was a CIA agent back in August of 2016. McCabe was definitely one of those who was told that. And he certainly would have told Comey. James Baker also did some editing on that FISA. So I would say that Yates, Comey, McCabe, and Baker need to be arrested and charged. Why haven't they? See you tomorrow. Bye.